This is Sky Sports 1.
It's smooth, and in both 2001 and 2002, the margin of victory at Kansas Speedway was just a tenth of a second. With temperatures well into the 90s, we can expect 2003 to see another breathtaking side-by-side dash to the checkered flag in the Kansas Indy 300. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Rob Watton, and I'm standing in today for Keith Hewen, who's been British Superbiking at Rockingham this weekend. Delighted to be your host for the latest round of the Indy Racing League. The record books show that this new Kansas track, which is hosting its third IRL race, is going to be the perfect venue for some incredibly close encounters. And one man who knows all about close finishes at Kansas has joined me today. He is Danish racing driver KRISTIAN KOLBY, who 2 years ago was involved in an epic side-by-side battle in the Indy Lights Series. I'm sure KRISTIAN is going to relive that memory for us. And he's joined by a regular expert here on Sky Sport, Paul Cherry, Managing Director of Force 10. Gentlemen, welcome both. But before we fill in some details with Paul and Chris, let's catch up with the Kansas City headlines. And Target Chip Ganassi driver Scott Dixon and Thomas Scheckter have secured the front row of the grids. Rows 2 and 3, they're occupied by the Penske and Mo Nunn racing teams. Britain's Dan Weldon is the fastest rookie in the field, but was unhappy with his setup, qualified only 13th. And news this week, the veteran driver and now team owner Eddie Cheever, whose career has spanned both Grand Prix and winning the Indy 500, is planning to pull on his crash helmet for some of the later races this season. Excellent stuff. Paul, Chris, as was the case last weekend, we're expecting the race to get underway very, very soon. Quick couple of questions. Now, Chris said in the introduction, a couple of years ago, what a tight finish it was. Just remind us of the details of that and tell us what it takes to win on a track like this.
I mean, the race 2 years ago was a really, really close finish. I think it's actually gone down as the closest finish in motorsport history ever, so it's a stat that I'll take to the record books with me. It was very, very close, 3 abreast across the line. I ended up winning by 1/1000th of a second, so it was very close. But the track generates really close racing, and I think you'll see 2 aside, maybe even 3 aside for the brave people, and it's going to be a really fantastic race, I'm sure.
Paul, for you, Scott Dixon, wonderful form at the moment, goes into this one, 2 wins on the bounce. What about this chassis, the G-Force chassis? Now, what sort of advantage is that giving him?
Well, at everywhere he goes, it's giving him the best car at the moment. Started out the year, everybody said the G-Force was perhaps better on the long tracks, and it's won at the 7/10 of a mile at Richmond last weekend. So G-Force have clearly done a superb job of just dialing this car into every circuit.
What is it, for a layman like me, what exactly does it mean?
Dialing it in is, as I've said on programmes like this before, it's all about track data. The teams that go to all these places, they gather so much data, they can analyse it and analyse it and analyse it, and it's the little tiny details of the springs, the shock absorbers, all that sort of stuff makes such a big difference.
OK, let's quickly get a prediction here. Chris, who's your money on?
Obviously, Scott Dixon's got to be favoured together with his teammate Thomas Scheckter, but I'm going to go a little bit off the wall and going to go for Felipe Giafone, who's starting on 5th on a row. Would
you agree?
No, I think on this particularly historic occasion of Penske's 999th and 1000th start, we should give one of the Penske drivers a race win.
So you wouldn't go with Scott Dixon then? Why not?
3's a tall order at the moment. Having said that, he's got the best setup, he's got the best car, he could very well do it again.
He'd be only the 2nd ever driver to win 3 in a row. Kenny Brack was the last in '98, so it's a bit of a feat. What about this Penske racing side? 13 Indianapolis 500 victories. You can roll them off the top of your tongue, can't you? What is the legacy that they will leave?
All sorts of things, really. I mean, they have been professional from day one. They've had, obviously, the best drivers, the best sponsors, and the best budget, and with that you can have the best results. However, they've gone through very, very lean periods as well, where they didn't win races for 4 or 5 years. But Penske's a very big operation.
OK, thanks for that. We can now cross to our ABC colleagues, Larry Rice and Gary Lee, who bring us the grid.
Scott Dixon, car number 9.
Thomas Scheckter, car number 10.
Takaki, car number 12.
Gilles de Ferran, car number 6.
Felipe Giafone, car number 21.
Hélio Castroneves, car number 3.
Alan Sir Jr., car number 31.
Tony KANAAN, car number 11.
Greg Ray, car number 13.
Scott Sharp, car number 8.
Brian Herta, car number 27.
Kenny Brack, car number 15.
Dan Weldon, car number 26.
Roger Yasukawa, number 55.
Jacques Lazier, car number 5.
AJ Foyt, car number 14. Vitor Mira, car number 2.
Sam Hornish Jr., car number 4.
Buddy Rice, car number 52.
Robbie Buell, car 24.
Buddy Lazier, car number 91.
Sarah Fisher, car number 23.
Drivers have led 49% of all the laps this season, as you ride along with Tony KANAAN, a phenomenal record for the Chip Ganassi Target team.
Yeah, the Hondas have qualified for 2 of the top 10 spots. Toyota took the rest of them.
Felipe Giafone, he'll be starting back in the 5th position. This is the only race that there's Al Unser Jr. He'll start back in 7th position. We're going to say Tony KANAAN has never started as poorly as he's starting today. KANAAN back in the 8th position. He's never started worse than 4th this year.
Yeah, this I think the Toyotas have really begun to come forward, and this Toyota team or target team of Ganassi's has just really come on strong. I mean, winning the pole, starting in the front row, and leading as many laps as they have led. I think that's pretty phenomenal with the caliber of drivers you have in this field.
8th race of a 16-race season. 4 of those pole positions belonging to the Ganassi team. 3 for Scott Dixon, 1 for Thomas Scheckter. They come wheel to wheel off the corner. The green flag is out. We are underway, and they're going to go 3 wide into the corner.
Gilles de Ferran laid back. He got a run on those guys. He got a terrific start. He could get by both of them here. No, he got by one, but he cannot get around Dixon.
Well, remember, Dixon, first time ever in Indy Racing League history, led every lap last week. Now, the race was rain shortened to 206 laps, but he led every lap, had never been accomplished before.
Castroneves tried to go around the outside of Scheckter, decided not to, pulled right back in behind him because the car got a little loose on him out there in that higher groove.
So you have a Ganassi driver, then a Penske driver, then a Ganassi driver. No, Tor Takagi has now moved up to 3rd position. 4th is de Ferran.
And you can see that these guys really, you can see de Ferran, he's just following right now. He's not doing anything but trying to get around and trying to follow in this heat. It's very hot out there today, and it's going to be a big factor before this is all over.
Well, the scoring monitor was showing Takagi up in 3rd position. The scoring monitor is not accurate. We've got Castroneves is currently in 4th position. So we started to say that it is Ganassi, Penske, Ganassi, Penske on the racetrack right now.
And that is as they're running right now. They're trying to run Tor Takagi's back in 5th spot. And de Ferran seems to be a little bit faster than Dixon is right now. You can see him. He's moving up about a half a car width through the corner. Number 1, to get some clean air. And number 2, just to try that outside groove. So he's
Sam Hornish has just picked off 7 spots in the first 2 laps of this race. Now, this will not be the track that would lend itself well to that underpowered Chevrolet as we saw last week at Richmond.
No, but Sam Hornish is a very smart guy. He uses the draft as well as anybody on the racetrack, and he gets behind those guys and uses them to get around. Right now, Castroneves is going to make a bid on the outside because you can see Scheckter, he got some dirty air. The front air was taken off the front part of the car, and the car pushed up towards the wall. He had to get out of the throttle.
Once again, from the start, Scott Dixon grabbed the lead, led every lap last week. And here's what was happening with Hornish behind the leader.
And it just looks like he's got, every race they've had that car set up so well, so perfectly, that he can run the outside groove where nobody else can run. he did that again on that racetrack. And as the race
running, look how high is running.
And as this racetrack gets hotter and hotter during the day, as you said, the track temperatures are going to get up to around 50 degrees Celsius, and that's going to be very hot, and it's going to get very slick out there.
We talk about Hornish. This is the last time that he'll have the Rocket Man, Kevin Blanche, working in the crew, because Kevin, as we talked about last week, is moving over to a tech position with the Indy Racing League, and also has aspirations of being a professional fisherman. He loves bass fishing, but right now his intent is to get Hornish to victory lane in the final race with that team.
Look at that guy sneaking up there in 5th. The first 4 guys kind of running lockstep, and that guy running back there in 5th looks like Tony Kanaan.
Kanaan in 5th, and Giafone right behind him. Now Tony Kanaan has been strikingly consistent this season, and as we talked last week, those consistent rides and finishes of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th win championships, unless there's one guy like Dixon that is consistently winning the race.
That's exactly right. And look at DeFerrin. DeFerrin keeps trying to run that outside groove. He keeps trying to see if he can just test it. He doesn't want to move clear out there until he's ready, but every lap he moves up just a little bit farther to make sure that outside groove is going to work.
The gap between 1st and 2nd. Schechter still rides in 3rd. Then it's Castroneves, and look at Giafone all over the rear wing of Kanaan.
Yeah, Kanaan and Giafone actually seem to be the 2 fastest cars, and there goes Giafone to the outside of Tony Kanaan. Kanaan's wiggled a little bit there as he came off the corner, but held his line. He kept up with him going through. Now listen, he gains of him going in. Oh, that was close.
Well, he had the momentum, and he made the commitment to stay high. Oh, look how close those wheels get.
You can see he just didn't get off the corner. He got into the corner harder. Now he's going to go in. He gets into the corner harder. Gets in very well, but can't get off. Schechter just lost a spot as Castroneves went underneath him.
And again, almost contact down the backstretch.
Giafone's got him this time. Giafone got a good run. If he could, as long as he was up beside him going into the corner, he could blow him by going in.
So Dixon continues to lead over to Farron. Castroneves has moved to 3rd. Thomas Schechter drops to 4th. Kanaan now in 5th position. 200 laps, the scheduled distance. We've only gone 10. We're working on lap 11 right now, and Scott Dixon led every lap last week, 206 before the rain came at Richmond. Huge crowd here today in this grandstand. They're enduring the heat and the heat index as well, but around 70,000 folks turning out here in the Midwestern heat and humidity to enjoy the Indy Racing League.
And now look at Kanaan. He just went back around Giafone. He got to the underside of Giafone and went back around him, so he's gained that spot back. I tell you what, it takes a great race fan, though. If you've ever sat in aluminum bleachers, aluminum grandstands on a 90-degree day,
that's the heat, won't it?
Oh, it is hot. So
there is no breeze here this afternoon. It was hot last year. These flat drivers know it's going to be wickedly hot when they come to Kansas City. You look back from your lead car back to a couple of Penske entries with the Farron in 2nd, Castroneves is 3rd.
You can see that the first 6 or 7 cars have kind of broken away from everybody else, but the first 7 cars pretty close to each other, still running pretty much nose to tail.
You saw early on that DeFerrin was trying to inch up just a little bit to create that 2nd groove out there, get some more rubber laid down so he could make a move on the high side. Live coverage from the Kansas Speedway in Kansas City, Kansas, here in the Midwest of America, on what in this country is a huge holiday weekend, the 4th of July. The current standing showing Dixon, DeFerrin, Castroneves, and Schechter. Kanaan got back around Giafone. Giafone back in 6th position. The banking is 15 degrees in the turns, 5 degrees down the front stretch, 10 degrees down the back stretch. And again, DeFerrin looks to the high side because each time he goes up there, Larry, he lays a little rubber down. As that rubber builds up, he's going to have an outside groove.
And look at Kanaan. He's moved to the outside of Schechter, and he likes it up on that high side too. And as he runs side by side with Schechter, he just inches up on him and through the corner. That's where he really gains on him, was getting off of the corner. Now then, oh, it looked like he started to pull down and wasn't clear around Schechter. Schechter got underneath the white line. Yeah, he saw him coming and moved down under the white line.
Here comes Giafone, looks to the high side. He saw what Kanaan was able to do around Schechter.
Yeah, he may try to give it a try himself. KANAAN stays up on that a little bit on the high side. Looks like everybody except Dixon in that line, though, are up. Oh, he moved up a little too much that time, and Schechter just blew by him on the inside.
And here comes Giafone on the high side, so KANAAN's going to lose about 2 positions in a matter of a lap. Well, maybe not. Now you're back on board with Schechter, back in the 4th position.
He hasn't lost it yet, but those guys back there from 3rd on back are battling pretty hard.
Hornish remains back there in the 12th position after starting 18th. Also on the move is Dan Weldon. Weldon, the rookie from England, again in the 13th position. He's moved up some 6 spots as well. So some good movement from near the back of the pack as we watch what's happening up in front.
Well, these guys are using the draft very well. They're running right behind each other. The other reason they're trying not to run directly behind the guy in front of them.
We'll take a look at Dan Weldon there, Larry, who's moved up to 6 spots as well.
Yeah, he's come up with the lead pack. He was back quite a ways. He
has 13th. Yeah, he's 7th now.
He's up with the lead pack, so he's one of those 7 guys that are with that lead pack. So he's running probably some of the fastest laps on the speedway right now. He was very disappointed with his qualifying laps. He thought he was not happy at all with the way he qualified. He thought the car should have been a lot better than that. Obviously, it is right now. Ooh, we got 3 abreast going down the front straightaway.
And they quickly get into single file formation into the corner. Yeah. Right along with 5th place Tony KANAAN.
Yeah, KANAAN decided that he just settled to fall in behind because
he's got a race championship to go after and not just a race win today.
Schechter and Castroneves run side by side, and he had a run on both of them, went to the outside, and then he thought, well, maybe I better not. But you can see the rest of the field now picking up to the front pack.
Telemetry, and it reads out all the critical functions. But I wonder, Michael, if you're happy with the drive by Scott.
Question, but I hope the viewers at home are watching what we're watching here because it's fantastic, isn't it?
Well, see, even they're fans.
Well, you can see these guys are working pretty hard in there. They're making some adjustments on the suspension as they're running, trying to get that car to handling a little better, because what happens, the longer you run, the slicker the racetrack gets. The more rubber you put down, and that rubber gets slick. So it's going, and as hot as it is today especially, it's going to get very slick out there before the day's over. So they're going to put more downforce in the wings, and they're going to use a lot of the adjustments on their sway bars and so forth.
Battle back for 4th position between KANAAN and Castroneves. KANAAN has that position right now. Back up in front, it's still Scott Dixon with a car length advantage over that Marlboro Penske entry of Gilles de Ferran. And here comes Thomas Schechter. Look at this. And Schechter's trying to use his teammate as a pick to go on by. And Schechter's moving up to 2nd position.
Well, he's obviously made some adjustments in the cockpit of that car, because he was falling back. He was clear back to 4th, almost in 5th at one point. And then suddenly, after KANAAN got around him, he made some adjustments on his race car, and he's been extremely quick ever since he did that. So he's right up behind his teammate now. Is he going to try to pass him, or will he just be content to follow him?
Well, 25 laps into this race, now 26. And they're running just as they started in 1st and 2nd. On board again with Tony KANAAN back in 4th position.
Yeah, and he's they're all trying a little bit of everything. They're moving around, trying to find a place on the racetrack. They're running flat out. They're never getting out of the throttle unless there's something that happens in front of them. But they're running flat out all the way. So they're just trying to find a place that they can pick up that draft and go by on the outside. Here comes de Ferran. He used the draft. He's going to move to the outside of Schechter. The other thing that happens when you're on the inside, you have to pinch the car a little bit. You can't keep the RPMs up to max down on that inside line. So sometimes it gives the guy on the outside a little bit of an advantage.
Look how close those wheels get.
And you can see Schechter right there.
Fight that wheel.
Yeah, well, Schechter was down underneath the white line. Once he dropped below that white line, that thing gets a little bit wiggly, and you saw him shake it, but he thought that Castroneves was going to come down, or I mean, de Ferran was going to come down and touch him. Now they're coming into lap traffic. This is where it might get a little interesting.
Well, we heard from race control there may have been contact between Greg Ray and number 13 and A.J. Foyt and number 14. But both cars continue on as Buddy Lazier goes a lap down.
And you can see still some side-by-side racing as they're running into those lap cars. You can't run 3 wide, so you're going to have to give a little bit. But the Farron back up there trying to get around for the lead.
Once again, we're looking at perhaps a 3 pit stop race. And despite the pit stops last week, the way they fell, all the leaders pitted at the same time, and the Ganassi team was able to get Scott Dixon back out each time in the lead. And as we have documented, never before has an IRL race been won flag to flag as it was last week, despite the fact that it was cut short by rain. All 206 laps were led by young Scott Dixon, the 22-year-old from New Zealand.
What a crowd. The place is almost filled to capacity here today, and they're seeing one heck of a race so far as the Penske crew and the Target crew, as well as KANAAN and Ganassi, really
see some smoke there on the track, Larry.
Like somebody might have had some problems. When I first saw that smoke, I thought maybe there was a problem. But
this is Giafoni on the inside of Castro and Evans, and look how close they are.
And you can't really appreciate how close that is, and if you know, just a slight touch, and everybody's in big-time trouble running.
There goes Weldon on the high side, so Weldon picks up a position.
Oh, we're going to get a lap car.
The difference of that's the 23 of Fisher. So Sarah, who started on the outside of the front row last week at Richmond, started outside of the last row here this afternoon.
Welcome back to IndyCar Racing, coming to you live from the Kansas Speedway. We're under a yellow flag at the moment. Fluid on the track. My guests Paul Cherry and Christian Kolby. Now, Scott Dixon, Christian, leading between him and Thomas Scheckter. They've led 702 laps this season. It's going to form again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Dixon has come on a bounce of 2 wins here, and he's looking very, very strong. He obviously likes being in this leading position where he's really controlling the race, and he's just sitting out there, taking his time, flat out, but holding up the field. No one seems to be able to get by him.
And as you'd expect, Paul, everyone diving into the pits with the yellow flag out.
Yeah, it's a perfect opportunity. Some people will make up a bit of track position and take another set of fuel on and wait for the next opportunity. There's not really any point in racing too hard at this moment in the event.
What's caught your eye in the first few laps, the first stages of this race?
Just really the way consistently that Scott Dixon has just stayed out in front. I mean, he's just got a taste for it and is doing a fantastic job.
It's been a little cagey at times, Christian. They're just sort of testing each other out, waiting for that final run at the end.
Absolutely. It's waiting for the final dash. They're going up there, but I mean, the midfield guys, they want to get up in the front so they can be there towards the end. And I mean, England's Dan Weldon, he's doing a fantastic job. He's moved up to 6th position and he's looking very strong as well with his lap times.
Okay, it is a fascinating race. Let's get back to our commentary team. Out there in Kansas, it's Gary Lee and Larry Rice.
And he pulls up behind the yellow Corvette pace car driven by 3-time Indianapolis 500 champion Johnny Rutherford. Incidentally, Larry, this of course is the 50th anniversary of the Corvette that first rolled off the assembly line in June of 1953.
Yes, and the other thing is Johnny Rutherford was born here in Kansas. They always called him Lone Star Jr.
Well, actually, he was born in Coffeyville.
Yeah.
Just outside Kansas City. Close enough. He was born in Kansas.
I said Kansas.
All right, well, yeah, Coffeyville, Kansas. Yeah, he's known as Lone Star Jr., lives in Fort Worth, but there's a good trivia question for you. Where was Johnny born? And the answer is Coffeyville, Kansas. And I tell you what, it is always hot and sticky and humid and oppressive here in Kansas in the summertime.
It is, and the thing these drivers worry more. The other thing about this, these slow laps, the drivers, it's much hotter for the drivers right now than as well as the engines. And if you open up your visor to try to get cool air, it's like a blast furnace. It's a lot of heat just hits you in the face like you're in a furnace, because
it's not like a cool breeze when you're in a
no. If you're going 200 miles an hour, it's a breeze that feels good, but this is very warm.
Well, we should have 1 lap to go at the line, so they've made their first pit stop, and Dixon once again continues to lead. Just a phenomenal record so far this season through the first half of the year for the Ganassi team.
Yeah, Castroneves came out in third spot, so he's all of those top 5 or 6 teams did a terrific job in their pit stops. There was nobody that made a very noticeable mistake. You can see him, watch him, look at him turn that thing hard to the right. He's just trying to get the marbles knocked off of the wheels. The tires don't need any heat, believe me, they're plenty hot enough. But they just try to make sure that there's no buildup on those tires so they don't get any surprise going down into that first corner after the green flag.
6 laps under green for this first yellow for a track inspection. We've got our first of what we would anticipate being a 3 pit stop race.
We've had some very clean racing the last couple of races. Richmond particularly impressed me with very few crashes on that little bull ring.
Pace car off the track. They're getting the green flag as they come under the starter stand this time by. And the restart is underway. And look at this. There's a run on the high side. Will we have a new leader the next time by? The first lead change in 2 races? Maybe, maybe not. Side by side with the fair on the high side.
He got another terrific start. He laid back a little bit, got a run on those guys. Now then Schechter's on the outside helping DeFerrin with a little draft. So the 2 teammates are the opposite sides. Castroneves on the inside of Dixon, helping Dixon, and Schechter on the outside trying to help Giafoni.
Well, Dixon led that lap. So
DeFerrin, sorry.
There goes Castroneves around Schechter. So the Penske cars are now sandwiched in between the target cars. But you're right, Larry, we've had some very clean racing, some very tight but very clean racing over the last couple of races. But still, that red and white number 9 continues to show the way.
Look at Giafoni. He's on the outside. He got clear up beside KANAAN, but couldn't complete the pass. He just absolutely couldn't complete the pass. Had to kind of fall back in behind him as they go down the back straight.
Sam Hornish has picked up 2 positions on that pit stop. He is now up to 10th. And all Sam can do this year is kind of be first in class with that Chevrolet power plant.
Yeah, it's a tough break for Sam Hornish. I'm sure he's as frustrated as the rest of the Chevrolet drivers are. They are going to test the new Chevrolet engine, a 500-mile test. Sam Hornish is going to test it in Michigan next week, so maybe that'll do something for them.
They're going to make that test at Michigan.
Oh, look at this. Giafoni.
Giafoni on the high side.
Got a great run down into the corner. Looks like these guys into the corner. Schechter and Giafoni both get in the corner very well and very deep. But they coming off the corner, they must have to lift just a little bit because they don't seem to get the straightaway speed when they come off the corner on that second groove on the outside.
Ryan Herta is up to 8th position. He's having a good ride. If we take a look behind the leader, there is Herta. Presently in 8th position. Being battled with there by Al Unser Jr. And Jr. makes a way around. So Herta drops to 9th and Al moves to 8th. And this is a good season so far for little Al.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Herta doesn't. He had a great restart. Now then he's starting to fall back for whatever reason. Look how high they are.
Side.
Oh man, he got awful high.
Schechter on the high side, and Castroneves gave him some room to get back down.
Boy, he was almost up in the gray. Once you get too high out of that black, you can see definitely where the black marks are and where it's gray. Once you get into that gray, that's where the marbles are. That's where all the little chunks of rubber are. And they get on those tires, and it's almost like being on ice. He was dangerously close to being too high coming off of that corner.
Here comes KANAAN on the high side now of Castroneves, moving up to 4th position if he can get that nose out there. And look at Schechter. Schechter's getting real racy now. Look to the inside of DeFerrin.
Yeah, Schechter seems like he catches a wind and he goes really quick for about 6 or 7 laps. And during that time, he gains a lot of spots. But KANAAN could not complete the pass on the outside of Castroneves. He had to fall back behind him.
Now, Rice, as I walked away from our buffet breakfast this morning, what did I say about Schechter?
You said this was his day.
I said this was his day. This is going to be Schechter's day.
Well, so far he's looked awfully good. KANAAN again to the outside. And you can hear the throttle control. You could hear he had to lift just a little bit right in the middle of the corner. And when you have to lift just that little bit on a place where you, in order to be fast, you've got to have it flat on the floor all the way around.
And look at this on the high side, Schechter. And Schechter moves around, and so now we had the 2 Ganassi teammates running 1 and 2. The Penske boys are running 3 and 4. And then Team Andretti Green with the 11 car of Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, and guess who just got around in, who's right behind him?
Weldon.
Dan Weldon. So we got teammates, teammates, and teammates. And here comes Castroneves.
So the first two are the, oh, look at this. Scheckter says, I want a piece of the limelight. I'm going to take the high side and maybe the lead. You've led long enough, my friend.
Wow.
Down the backstretch. Is he going to get it?
Got to have an awful strong
53.
car.
Oh, man, they come off the corner. Looks like it. Who's going to lead this lap? Who was it? Dixon led it.
Dixon led it, but it.
The number 5 car of Jacques Lazier got very high in turn 2. He's going to head back to the pit area. This is the last race for Jacques Lazier with the Foyt team. Foyt's going to cut back to only 1 car, and that would be for his grandson. Look at this. What do you think Chip Ganassi is thinking right now?
I think he's thinking, I wish one of those guys would pull in behind the other one and follow him. This is too close, and it looks like maybe Scheckter decided to do that. And that may have been,
he was told on the radio to do that.
I was going to say, that may have been instructions from Chip Ganassi saying, you know, don't do that, guys. We got a long way to go here. We can still finish 1 and 2. Do that the last 10 laps, not now.
Well, let's not take a risk of tearing up equipment here. You got the Penske guys. Look at that. You're right. You got 1 team leading, 1 team 3rd and 4th, another team 5th and 6th. Now if we get Tori out, where's Takagi?
Takagi's falling back to 11.
So he needs to get up there with Giafone for the. Oh, they got a spin right in front of Sam Hornish.
And it's Dan Weldon.
It's Weldon and Giafone right in front of Hornish. On lap 56.
We see Dan Weldon. He's taking his steering wheel off. That's good news.
Apparently there were some parts on the track from car number 5. Lazier made some slight contact, and they were going to go yellow, and just before that happened, you see Dan Weldon holding his hands up, kind of asking, well, what was that all about? You can see the whatever the liquid is, oil I guess it is, running across the racetrack there. As the oil dry goes down, the safety crew is there immediately.
But the fairness is, I mean, Giafone is not getting out of the car, so he is moving around. He is conscious, but he is not he's not getting out of the car, so we'll have to wait and see.
Take a look again.
Going through the corner. Oh, they're just touched, and Dan Weldon was blaming Giafone, but I'm not too sure that that was Giafone's fault. As he went around and he looked like he came down the racetrack and did not give Giafone room and touch. Let's see if we can. Well, you're not going to probably see it from this angle. Maybe you will. Maybe you will. Now watch Giafone. Looks like he's down on the white line, and look, he moved under the white line. He moved as low as he could go without crashing, and Weldon just kept coming down. Right here again. You can see he'd already started to get sideways, and because he had pulled so far down on the racetrack, he'd already gotten a little bit sideways, but Weldon has squeezed him too low on the racetrack.
Incredible impact with Giafone. Now watch again. Now look how low Giafone is, and watch Weldon come down.
Yeah, they both head for the bottom of the racetrack, and you can see right there. You know, he's on the bottom of the racetrack. He's only about 3 or 4 inches off of that white line. Now watch as they go forward. Let's see. See, he keeps moving down. He sees he keep coming down. He's way down under the white line, and that's when the contact is made. He was still moving down the racetrack, and Weldon was, look at that, way, way down on the racetrack.
And Giafone still fighting the wheel, trying to get something accomplished, and right now he has nothing to do but just hang on for the ride and wait for the impact.
That all happened so fast. I mean, it looks so easy watching from this angle, but boy, when you're sitting in that race car, believe me, that happened instantaneously.
Former Rookie of the Year with the Indy Racing League being tended to now under yellow here in Kansas City.
Welcome back to the Kansas Indy 300. We're under a yellow flag at the moment. A nasty looking crash on lap 59. Christian, as soon as it happened, you said that's Dan Weldon's fault, and having looked at the replays, you were spot on straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it was his fault, but I wouldn't say it's actually as a personal thing. It looks like maybe he wasn't told by the spotter, who's the guy who sits up in the tower and tells them if there's a car about to pass him. It looks like Giafone got a great run on him, went for the inside, And it just looked like Dan just didn't see him. He obviously wasn't told that he was there because he just gave him absolutely no room. So it looks like he just didn't have a choice of where to go.
It looks like quite a nasty crash. We've been seeing the pictures afterwards, Paul Sherry, and that gives you some indication of the impact there. And now Dan Wheldon under probation after Indy 500. Could he be in trouble for this, or was it really just one of those accidents?
Well, these oval races, you can have an accident like that at any event at any time. It's par for the course, so to speak. Yes, he did have a discussion with Michael Andretti after the Indy 500 because he did have, shall we say, a moment where he decided to try everything in the Indy 500 and it came off in a bad way for him. So Michael said, settle down, otherwise we'll have to find you another home. But this here is a racing accident. I totally agree with Christian. The spotter on the tower should have called that he wasn't in a position to move far down. It's not on a part of the track where he couldn't have stayed too wide. And consequently, they touched, and here's the aftermath.
Now, Dan Wheldon's out of his car, Christian, but Felipe looks in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously going to hit the wall pretty hard when you're averaging 220 miles an hour. So it's going to hurt. And luckily, Dan's okay, and I'm sure Felipe is as well. But I mean, it might be concussion, or he might just element of a shock, or maybe some bones might need a bit of seeing to.
Now, as a driver who's raced on this track, there are precautions you can take if you know you're going to hit that wall. Did he have enough time to take those precautions?
I mean, it looks like he was trying to save it right to the last moment. I mean, he didn't get his hands off the steering wheel, so there's an element maybe he could have broken some fingers. So, yeah, it could be problematic.
OK, let's go back to the commentators out there at the Kansas Speedway, Gary Lee and Larry Rice.
There's another yellow, and they all come back in
another,
together.
yeah, I mean another yellow, excuse me, around lap 90, and then they'll all come in then.
Well, Vitor Meira, the Brazilian driver, who he stays sharp before these races by practicing on his kart.
You can hear that the gearbox is gone. The engine's still running. It just there's no gearbox. The engine's running. He's racing the engine. Oops, looks like he might have caught a little gear there. He got something going. So he tried to get back on the to the pit area, but didn't make it.
One of the Chevrolet-powered entries for Vitor Meira, who joined this team last year and had a pole position in one of his outings last year for Team Menard, as they remain under yellow as they complete lap 63 here in Kansas. Well, Scott Dixon continues to lead this thing under yellow. We've had no report from the accident scene on Felipe Giafone.
Yeah, he's and this is the drivers and the teams and the crews did not want to see this extended yellow. Once again, extremely hot here, extremely hard on the engines to run this slow because the air does not flow through. There are no fans like you have on a passenger car. They depend on the air flowing through the radiators to cool these cars, so they run the hottest during a time like this. I was talking to one of the Chevrolet engineers, and they said that these engines at the point of combustion sometimes reach a 2,000 degrees Celsius, which is a tremendous amount of heat. And you know, they use the fuel and the air and so forth to cool them, but you know, you melt most metals at that kind of temperature.
Well, Scott Dixon has led every race except for Texas. This race, having led 442 laps, he's led all 63 today, and he and his teammate Thomas Schechter, who presently rides in second position, have led more than 50% of the laps this year, which doesn't leave a whole lot of laps for others to lead. Gil DeFerrin has led 195, Tony Kanaan 189, Elio Casper-Evans 110. But this Ganassi team, of course, Chip, before he became a car owner, was a driver.
So at the Kansas 300, it's bad news for the British driver Dan Wheldon crashing out there. But there is some great news for British fans from the Infinity Pro Series. I'm pleased to tell you that Mark Taylor scored another victory earlier today in the IRL support race. The win came after Mark was forced to start at the back of the grid after a technical infringement in qualifying. Taylor won the race from Tony George's stepson, Ed Carpenter, overtaking him in the closing stages. Tom Wood finished third, so well done to Mark Taylor. And look, he wins and he gets the kiss at the end. It's unfair, isn't it? So, Mark Taylor, the winner there from Ed Carpenter and Tom Wood, and that's left the table looking like this. Taylor pulling away now after his 3 wins this season, some 50 points clear. So let's head back then to the Kansas Speedway. The yellow flag still out, still clearing the track there after that crash involving Dan Weldon and Felipe Giafone. Let's get back and get the thoughts from our commentary team out there, Gary Lee and Larry Rice.
On track position, of course, he picked up 2 spots with this altercation we're under yellow for.
Look at AJ Foyt the 4th. He's up to 9th. I think that's the first time we've seen him in the top 10 for a long time. So that's good news for him. He ran very well at Richmond. Even though he got lapped, he ran with the leaders at the same speed as the leaders there for a while during that race.
Realistically, many of us, and I will say of us, have questioned whether he should be out here or spend another season with the Infinity Pros, but he is making progress, and who knows, in a couple of years he could be the guy to beat.
That's exactly right. And you notice we were talking about Dixon leading. Toyotas have led 96% of the laps in the Indy Racing League since Indianapolis. So they've, and most of that is because
it's going up today.
Yes, it's going up today, and a lot of that is because of Team Ganassi.
Well, there is Vitor talking to his crew members. He came out of karts, as all these Brazilian drivers came out of karts. And as we said earlier, every week before an IRL race, he heads to a kart track just south of Indianapolis on a shifter kart, a super kart, and kind of knocks the rust off to get ready for race weekend.
I would guess that if you went through the history of these guys, you would see that probably 60% of them, at least more than 50% of them, started out in go-karts or quarter midgets at a very early age, because it is such a good training ground. The smaller the car, really, like a go-kart or like a quarter midget, your reaction time has to be trained much better, and you use your reactions much better. So when you get into the bigger cars, you're so much better prepared than somebody who's never been there.
On lap 65, we remain under yellow with Schechter and Dixon leading the way, with the Castroneves back there in third, then KANAAN and Unser.
Welcome back. We'll be rejoining the action in just a moment, but I have been asked to clarify an issue from last week's programme. Now, the panel did suggest that Dario Franchitti might have been riding the motorbike which caused his injuries, which are currently keeping him out of the IRL, against a clause in his contract with Andretti Green Racing. Julian Jacoby, Dario's manager, has contacted us and made it clear there was no such clause in the contract and that Dario was perfectly at liberty to ride the bike. Furthermore, Dario maintains that there was definitely a problem which caused oil to spray onto the back wheel and caused the accident. This is something that is in the hands of relevant parties, and more than that we can't say. So we're glad to clear that up. We wish Dario the swiftest of recoveries, and perhaps we can persuade him to come on the programme soon as a guest. Moving on then, the yellow flag out at the moment in the Kansas 300 pool. It looks a nasty one, doesn't it? Well, they're still not saying quite the condition out there of Felipe Giafone, and that's a bad sign.
Well, they actually got him out of the car reasonably quickly, and it doesn't look as though they've had to cut the car at all, so I think he's probably been able to get out, somewhat aided, of course. What you have to remember at these tracks is the medical facilities there are absolutely first class, because unfortunately they accept the fact that people are going to get hurt in this series, and therefore they have the very best doctors in all sorts of injuries. So the right people are there and the right decisions will be made, and they'll let us know as soon as he is. I would think, to be honest, it's going to be concussion, but as Christian said, he didn't take his hands off the steering wheel, maybe he didn't pull his feet off the pedals, and if you do that when you hit the wall, sadly the shot goes into you.
Yeah, Christian, we were talking beforehand, and the impact, broken fingers, I guess, is the least of the worries if that does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's escaped relatively lightly. I mean, he hit the wall very hard. I mean, there was even a brief fire in the car that actually exploded off. So, I mean, there was a big, big impact, and hopefully he'll be fine. As Paul says, it's the best medical team they've got.
And I guess with speeds, Paul, over 200 miles an hour out there, they have to make sure the track is perfectly clear, don't they? Slightest little thing could get into the tyres and anything could happen.
No, after an accident like that, which goes on for quite a reasonable distance, there are little shards of carbon, bits of magnesium, aluminium. Worst thing possible, as we saw the guys clearing there, is going to be the oil and the coolant, which really needs to be brought out of the track, because that's just like skating on ice, and they won't start this race till they're absolutely satisfied that's all gone.
And what sort of time lapse does that normally involve?
Well, it depends how much fluid is out on the track, Rob. I mean, most of those cars run something in the region of 4 to 5 litres of coolant and probably 3 to 4 litres of oil in the coolers. So you've got probably between them 10 or 15 litres that needs mopping up, which is quite a significant amount.
Now, we saw out there before the crash, Chris, a little battle going on between Scott Dixon and Thomas Scheckter. Now, I was surprised. If I was Chip Ganassi, I would have been going bonkers at this early on in the race, and they could have touched tyres, and both of his team could have been out of it.
Yeah, I mean, they were running very, very close, but I mean, they're racing, and they're racing for the win. I think in the end, Chip Ganassi got on the radio and told them, look, guys, you can do this with 2 or 3 laps to go. Right now, just make sure that you stay 1-2 and race towards the end of the race.
So it's a yellow flag at the moment in the Kansas 300. Let's head back there because one of the men involved in the crash has given his opinion. Let's now hear from Dan Weldon.
Did the conditions at all lead to this incident with Felipe Giaffoni?
No, actually the conditions are really good, and certainly my Klein Tools Jim Beam car was handling very well. And I think what happened is I had just finished trying to get around the outside of Tony Kanaan, and unfortunately didn't pull off the move, so slotted in behind him. But I think Felipe just tried to kind of dive down the inside at the last minute, and we touched, and unfortunately we both crashed, but hopefully he's okay, but I'm fine.
Yeah, these guys they'll, you know, as we said before, they're trying to keep the cars, the tires clean, because the longer you run, the more debris gets out there on the racetrack. Sam Hornish, I noticed just a minute ago, he had fallen way, way behind this pack, and I'm sure he'll be getting back up there pretty quickly, because you don't want to get started.
What was this? Scott slowed way down. Everybody started according up behind him, and he took off.
Well, we used to call that the brake check in the old short track business, yeah. But you can't do that here. I think they're all probably just making sure that the engine's going to be clear. When they hit the gas, it's going to accelerate and not stutter anything. They want to get everything cleared off. So they'll do a little maneuvering here and then get lined up as they go down the back straight.
Let's see what Scott Dixon has in mind for this restart. The restart will come out as they complete lap 73.
Looks like a little bit faster restart than we normally see.
All right, the green is out. A good restart for your leader, but here comes this guy back there in third, Castroneves, on the high side of Scheckter, trying to overhaul that position. They drag race off the corner, and it's Scheckter down low, Castroneves up high, and who's going to have it?
Well, Sam Hornish lost 2 spots on that restart. The Chevrolet just couldn't get up to speed quick enough. We'll see what happens once they get going again. But right now, Scheckter able to hold him off. And look at the Farron back there. He's back in 9th or 10th spot.
Well, that hurt on the
already
outside.
Up to 5th. So the Farron he's probably got as good a starts or better starts than anybody on the racetrack so far today. He got great starts on the original start and the first yellow, and he got another terrific start here after this last.
Brian Hurt in the 27 car. That is the car that is assigned to Dario Franchitti, who's out for the rest of the season. And there goes
Sam
Herta
Hornish
losing another position.
Yeah, Hornish, once he got everything pumped up again, he started going. Look at that. He's running in 6th spot and just keeping up with the tall dogs here.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he just had an extra 20 or 25, 30 horsepower.
Well, he look how much faster.
Look on the high side, he goes by. Look at the telemetry now. 211 miles an hour. Throttle 100% all the way around. Now race control is saying that 91 Buddy Lazier and 14 Foyt did make some contact, so that's the second time we've had some contact with AJ Foyt on the racetrack with somebody.
look at this. We got a challenge for the lead.
Two teammates. Schechter up high. We have debris on the racetrack, and the yellow is coming out, our third yellow of the afternoon. The debris is over in turn 3, so that will negate what could have been a good battle up in front for the lead.
Yeah, it sure did. I just am amazed with Sam Hornish. What he is doing is absolutely phenomenal.
Well, let's just hope that we can keep him in the Indy Racing League and he doesn't get snatched up and go someplace else like NASCAR racing in this country. Third yellow of the afternoon comes out on lap 78. The first was for oil and a track inspection. The second for the crash between Giafoni and Dan Weldon. And now this third and most recent for debris that may have been, we heard some contact between the 91 and the 14 between Buddy Lazier and AJ Foyt. There may have been a winglet or something knocked off the race car.
Yeah, and you don't want to leave anything on the racetrack that's going to cause any kind of a problem, because it doesn't take much. I mean, you cut a tire at these speeds, it's a big time problem. So it's going to be up. Well, there's the helicopter.
There was the helicopter for Giafoni, and we have yet to have any kind of word from the infield care center, but he is being taken to a nearby hospital by that helicopter.
And you can see he's already in the helicopter. They've already got him in there off of the gurney there, so he's in the helicopter. They're going to take him in. Obviously some sort of injury. We still haven't had any reported exactly what the problem is.
Is your leader going to come in, or is he going to stay out?
Well, they've
just running down low, or is he going to come in the pits?
I don't know.
39 laps since his last pit stop.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that they head into the pit area. He is obviously going into the pit area.
And he is making his second pit stop of the afternoon, which will turn the lead over to, well, perhaps his teammate if Schechter stays out there. Now Schechter's coming in too. That could give Castroneves the lead, but Castroneves likely will make a pit stop. No, they're all coming in.
Yeah, I think everybody who didn't pit the first time is going to come in this time.
So that is going to give the lead to DeFerrin in our first lead change.
Yeah, it'll be
2 races.
Yeah, that's pretty good. He got in and out of there quickly. 7.6 seconds. Oh, look at this.
This traffic jam.
Wow. 2 for Herta got a great pit stop too as he came out very quickly.
KANAAN and Harnish.
Yeah, this. So everybody, Castroneves.
Whoa! Herta came blasting out there, and there was that safety truck right in front of him. Made a quick swerve to the right to get around him.
Let's see. Now Dixon says, "No, I beat you out. I beat you out. Stay back there."
Now watch this. And there are cars all over the place when they're exiting the pit area. But your leader will be DeFerrin for this restart. Gary Lee and Larry Rice live under yellow here at the Kansas Speedway. We've had our first lead change in 2 races, and there is your leader. There is DeFerrin, and we knew this was going to happen because he was brought in out of sequence with the rest of the drivers by Roger Penske.
And Yasukawa, Sharp, and Ray all are going to also be up in the front of the pack because they also pitted when he did earlier in the race. Castroneves did beat Dixon out of the pit area, so they're going to put him in front. So that's kind of interesting. That was a pretty good race. Maybe we'll get another chance to look at it here in a minute. But
that was the race off pit road under yellow, and that's what moved Castroneves around Dixon. I think, Larry, we can have a replay here on those guys exiting the pits. That's their second stop of the afternoon.
Well, Scott Dixon came in first. Here's everybody heading into the pit area. Everybody
a couple laps back.
Yeah, this is a couple laps to go, and you can see Schechter reached his pit first.
So they've split Schechter and
right. They
Dixon.
split him. Give Dixon a better opportunity to get off.
They also split KANAAN and the rest of his teammates. Weldon and
look at this now. Look at this pit stop. This is a very good pit stop. It's less than 8 seconds. 7.8 seconds.
Right there. Castroneves by a nose at that line.
So Castroneves had to get in and out of there in less than 7.8 seconds because he did beat him. He was moving before Dixon was and beat him to that white line.
So on the restart, it'll be DeFerrin, Yasukawa, who pitted earlier. Then Sharp, Ray, Dixon, Castro Nevitz. Here's Mo Nunn.
All they can say is that they don't know exactly. They're taking him to a hospital, and it looks like he's broken his right leg.
We will get a further update from the IRL medical.
So Mo Nunn talking to Jack Arute. There is the helicopter, and you heard the report, very, very preliminary, from the team owner that it could be a broken right leg.
Yeah, of course, that all will depend on how badly broken it is, what kind of a break it is. It could be something that he may miss one race or two, or it could be something that could put him out for the year. You just, broken legs can mean anything. If you've broken the bone in your upper leg, of course, that's going to be much more devastating than in your lower leg.
Well, of course, there is a medical staff back in Indianapolis that if there's any way to get a guy back in a race car tomorrow, they would.
That's right. They've got some of the best people. They've worked on race car drivers for a long time back there. And Dr. Terry Trammell is probably one of the absolute best in the business.
Best orthopedic guy around. Yeah. There's your restart order. Buell and Lazier a lap off the pace, as now is Takagi. So DeFerrin, our first leader in 2 races besides Dixon.
Well, we'll see how Dixon and Schechter work their way up through the traffic along with Castro Nevitz. It will be pretty interesting with those lap cars up there. I don't imagine they're going to wait long, though.
The green flag is out. We are underway. This is a 200 lap event. Working now on lap 84. Thomas Schechter got very high on that restart.
Yeah, that's the thing we talked about before. You want to make sure your tires are cleaned off. Evidently, maybe he got up in the marble.
With Schechter right now.
And he's way behind the rest of the pack.
Back in 13th position.
Yeah, he got way behind the rest of the pack. So he's cost himself a little bit. He tried to outsmart everybody, and in the end, just cost himself a. You know, it's not a big disaster. He's still in the lead lap. He's still rolling. He's still doing everything right. So all he's got to do is catch back up.
We're hearing now that it might be an ignition switch problem on Schechter's car.
Oh, that might have been the problem.
Look up there. Is there a black cloud hanging over there? That's because Thomas Schechter must feel like there's a black flag hanging over, or a black cloud hanging over him, because we've talked about this before, Larry. This is the hard luck driver of this era.
He's had certainly had a lot of very unusual things happen to him over the past couple of years. Some of them are his fault, but a lot of them were not his fault. A lot of them were just stuff happens sort of things.
Scott Sharp back in the 3rd position, the best drive that we have seen from Scott since he won at Motegi, as you ride along with the telemetry. Look at the G load, the lateral G's of 3.5.
And those G's, you know, 3.5 G's, and you're pulling those for 2 hours or so every couple of seconds, and that's a lot of energy. It's a big strain on the body. These guys.
His right hand, though, Larry. Is that he's talking on the radio right now. Did he shift gears back there? Or did he make a car? Yeah,
he shifted gears. He shifted gears. These cars will run sometimes 2, sometimes 3 top gears on a racetrack like this. They'll always run 2, but sometimes they'll run 3 top gears because it's so critical to be right on the rev limiter. You've got to get every rev out of that engine to get maximum horsepower. So they'll put 3 gears that are very close to each other on the top range of this, so that they get in traffic, or if the conditions change a little bit, they can run 1 gear or the other.
Well, they gave Schechter credit for leading 1 lap. So we've had 3 different leaders today. They gave Schechter credit for leading that 1 lap when he was battling up in front. Look at this. This is a battle for 6th position. Hornish on the high side. That's Herta down low. Watch him work that steering wheel.
And he's pretty much made a habit of taking that outside groove and making it his own. And right now, then, it looks like he's going to have to fall back. Look how much quicker he is, just like we've seen him in so many places, just right through the middle of the corner.
This was not supposed to be the track that he could do that.
No, exactly. This is supposed to be way too big a track to be able to blow by guys on the outside. And he's made a habit of it all race long.
And now race control is watching the number 52 car of Buddy Rice for a possible spray. We saw him take that car behind the pit wall earlier and work on it, so apparently the problem persists. Look at the speeds at the line. Look at that, number 3, Castroneves, the fastest that time at 215.1 miles an hour.
Yeah, those guys are, the lead group got away a little bit on that restart while they were dealing with lap traffic, but I think now we're seeing that those guys back there are starting to catch up with this lead pack.
DeFerrin, Yasukawa. Yasukawa has led a couple laps this season. In fact, Yasukawa led 5 laps at Phoenix, led 1 lap at Pikes Peak.
Dixon Hornish definitely catching those 3 lead cars. Thomas Schechter, meantime, has gotten around a couple of cars. He's back up to 12th, but a lot of track distance to make up after that ignition problem.
Well, we're going to have that second yellow allowed them to pit. We've had 2 pit stops. This was to be a 3 pit stop race, but it looks like we're going to have maybe 2 more pit stops.
Look at Yasukawa. He is right
there with DeFerrin.
He's running very well as he's all over DeFerrin. Of course, he's using that draft to his advantage.
Well, Yasukawa has been very, very impressive this season as a rookie driver here with the Indy Racing League, and he follows DeFerrin. He's right along with Scott Sharp back there in 3rd position. Then it's Scott Dixon and Elio Castroneves. You know, these races have been just, Larry, so enjoyable. There has been good action throughout the field, no matter where you're watching. We've had situations where, like a Sam Hornish last week, will get, or 2 races ago, get a lap down and pass more people than anybody else. So you have a situation where Schechter has a problem and loses a bunch of spots, and he's on the prowl again, and they've just been very enjoyable to watch.
Scott Sharp is shifting on every straightaway. He's evidently got 1 gear that he uses. The front straightaway, obviously, you're going to get more RPMs because of the straightaway is longer. So he uses 1 gear for the front straightaway and another gear for the back straightaway. So it's very interesting. I don't think I've seen that too much on these things, but he's been doing that almost every lap. And he didn't do it
Watch
this lap.
Watch if he shifts gears here. Yep. We cut off that onboard camera. DeFerrin with that size of a lead over Yasukawa.
But all of a sudden, Scott Sharp seems to be catching the 2 leaders. He had fallen behind them by several car lengths. In the last couple of laps, Scott Sharp has caught up with Yasukawa just a little bit.
Yasukawa, the leading rookie, and the Bombardier Rookie of the Year standings. He's 13th in the point standings right now. Some $50,000 from Bombardier going to the overall Rookie of the Year.
Look at Dixon and Castroneves. They are pulling these guys in very, very quickly. They are really gaining on Scott Sharp right now.
Dixon back in the 4th spot. Castroneves is 5th. Then it's Herta, Hornish. KANAAN is mired back in 8th position. Then Schechter is 9th. Kenny Breck, we've not called his name today, is in 10th. Greg Ray is 11th, and 12th is Al Jr.
Yeah, I'm really surprised after that last pit stop. KANAAN has not been able to mount anything, so it's not a good deal for him.
We hope to hear from Kevin Blanche momentarily. That is the crew chief that we talked about leaving Sam Hornish and Panther Racing to go as a tech man with the Indy Racing League. And as we said earlier, he loves to fish. That is his hobby, and he would like to become a pro fisherman. Do you ever fish, Larry?
I fish, but I don't.
You're not that proficient, are you?
That's right. I couldn't go out and do it as a professional.
It's just easier to go to the fish market and buy whatever you want, I think. So DeFerrin leads as we complete half the race, 100 laps now in the record book. Live coverage from the Kansas Indy 200 at Kansas Speedway here in Kansas City in the heart of the Midwest. Half the race now in. We actually had 3 leaders today. Scott Dixon led 78 laps. We've had Schechter leading 1 lap for the record, and now 21 laps being led by Jill DeFerrin. 3 yellows.
Just past the halfway mark in this race as we see Castroneves
going to work on Dixon for 4th spot.
Whoa! Yeah.
And Dixon had to give him room.
Yes, that looked almost like what we saw a little earlier, where Castroneves started down the racetrack.
It was a high-speed game of chicken right there, and And it looked like the youngster blinked.
Yeah, well, I don't
Gave him
blame
some
him
room,
too
wisely so.
Guy makes a left-hand turn on you. You got to get out of his way just about. He moved down, and Castroneves got the spot.
Now Castroneves moves up and has his sights set on Scott Sharp. By far the best ride since Motegi for Scott Sharp.
Well, you're taking a look at Roger Yasukawa, who's putting on one of his best performances so far. Now then Schechter comes back to the inside of Castroneves. Castroneves, though, hangs on to that spot. This guy's been battling pretty much all race long. I thought when they caught Scott Sharp so quickly that I thought once they caught him, they might just go on by him. But once they've caught him, they have not.
Oh, we want to hear from Kevin Blanche down in the Panther race pit area. Oh, Scott got very, very high there and had to pull back across the nose. And look at this, well below the white line.
Castroneves had a run on him. He was going to use it, so he got way behind that white line and went ahead and pulled up behind Scott Sharp. But it's
He's
not
going to take the advantage by a nose, and here comes from a good vantage point Scott Dixon. Scott also shifted gears.
And you can hear him get, oh, you can see he wiggled right there. Scott Sharp wiggled. He didn't like that high line too much. He had to wiggle, and that let Schechter get around him too.
Right along with Hornish. He's back in the 9th position.
All the success to experience this moment. Yeah, it really is. You know, I've had a great time here, and it's been a great group of guys and great owners, and you know, we've had a lot of success, but you know, sometimes you just have to go try something different, and hopefully I can help the league out. I've been with the league ever since they started. Hopefully I can bring something to the table for them.
This is one of the great guys of this league right here.
Gary Gerald talking to the soon-to-be departed Kevin Blanche. They call him the Rocket, and he has been so instrumental in the success of this Panther racing team. This Pennzoil Panther team has won 2 back-to-back titles with the Indy Racing League, and still instrumental in giving him a race car that without the horsepower he needs, he can still be competitive.
And you can see Sam Hornish, as we rode along with him, he too is shifting gears on the straightaways, trying to find the perfect matchup. I don't think his car is handling quite as well in this segment as it was earlier, because all of a sudden he's lost a couple of spots.
Well, behind the leader is Thomas Schechter, running now in the 7th position, trying to close in on Tony Kanaan, who's back there in 6th. And there is Kanaan in front of him. So that is the battle right now for 6th position. This is what's going on behind the leader. Leader still is Jill LeFerrin. Jill with 1 win this season. That was, of course, the Indianapolis 500, the 13th win at Indy for the captain, Roger Penske, in his 35th season of racing. His first Indy 500 was with Mark Donohue back in 1969.
Well, Shell
finally won the race the first time in 1972 with Mark Donohue.
Schechter, Dixon, and Kanaan, all 3 of those guys running together are the 3 fastest cars on the racetrack right now. So we'll see how long it takes him. And you can see Schechter, he probably is not very happy after that little incident. He's really been standing on the button.
Well, still trying to find a way around Tony Kanaan. Since the restart, Schechter's picked up 5 positions. Castroneves has picked up 3. Kanaan has picked up 2, but he's in the process now of perhaps losing that position.
We'll see.
On the backstretch into 15-degree banking. You're riding along with Thomas Schechter back in the 7th position. Up in front, though, it's LeFerrin, Roger Yasukawa, then Castroneves, Sharp, and Dixon. 111 laps of 200 now complete. And now you can see that those 2 have caught the lead pack.
Yeah,
the top 7 are right together on the racetrack.
Yeah, the whole lead pack has really shrunk together here in the last few laps. But LeFerrin is the one who he's pulled away from everybody. It's Yasukawa, Castroneves, Sharp, Dixon, Kanaan, Schechter, those cars all together. But
well, 4 seconds separate first and second, and only 5 seconds separate first and 7th. So you've got 2nd through about 7th riding within a second of each other.
You can hear the throttle control. You can see that even though the best way to get around here is flat-footed, sometimes you just can't do that, as you ride along with Tony Kanaan.
Uh-oh, and Kanaan almost gets in the right rear of Castroneves.
Well, those guys were running close.
You know, I would like to have a blood pressure cuff on these guys and check their blood pressure and their pulse as they get close like that.
You know, I've seen that done before, and I can tell you that you'd be absolutely amazed at how cool, calm, and collected these guys are.
Look at this. Look at this. Dixon on the high side of Yasukawa. This is the battle for second, and Dixon can't quite make the move. It's the longer way around. He's got to keep the momentum up.
Well, Yasukawa did everything he could. He stayed right on the bottom of the racetrack.
This isn't clean.
Tried to keep him down there, and you can see that right through the middle of the corner, Yasukawa is a little bit quicker. Look at Schechter out there. He's three wide.
Now, he's gotten in trouble doing this in the past. Well, he picked up one position. Wow.
He got around Castroneves, but Dixon is having a real problem. Look at this now. They almost go three wide. Schechter again was pretty wide.
Just got a report that Giafone has been transferred to the KU Medical Center. That's the Kansas University Medical Center. He is complaining of pain in his right leg, so x-rays will indicate whether that leg is broken or not. And we did hear that from Mo Nunn, his car owner. There goes a move to the high side by Kanaan. Riding high above the racetrack now, looking at Yasukawa, who just lost a position to Dixon. Yasukawa back there, and what's the problem? Schechter is slowing. Thomas Schechter.
I think it's the same, might be the same electrical problem. He had moved, was way up. He was battling up there with Kanaan and those guys, and then all of a sudden he just fell out of the picture and went way backwards.
Where is that black cloud? He's kind of banging on the steering wheel.
Yeah, you can see him.
Well, now is he going back? Now we're hearing from the pit area it's fuel pressure problems. Before it was the ignition that was acting up on a restart. Now apparently it's a fuel pressure problem.
Yeah,
I tell you what, when Lady Luck starts to smile on this kid, he's going to win a bunch of races.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, just very unusual. You got two team cars identically prepared out of the same stable. One has this kind of problems several times. The other one has no problems at all.
Well, DeFerrin continues to lead this thing. We're working on lap 121 of a 200 lap scheduled event. And DeFerrin right now enjoying a 5-second advantage over Dixon. Now, what was that? Nothing.
Well, maybe it's a fuel pickup problem. Maybe he's just not picking up all the fuel. We've seen that happen several times.
Well, he said on the radio it was fuel pressure.
Well, we'll find out if it's what it is, because if it runs now and he doesn't have any more problems, then obviously there was some sort of a problem that has to do with the amount of fuel.
It puts him out of pit sequence, puts him a lap off the pace, but if the next round of pit stops are made under green, it puts him back in a good position.
He could get back on the lead lap, so we'll just have to wait and see how it all plays out. But you don't ever want to have that happen. You always want to be right up there in the hunt, just like these guys are, battling for the lead.
You're looking at a battle right now for second position, and there goes Castroneves. That's Yasukawa.
These guys battling with each other. So this Castroneves.
Bobby Buell is also headed for the pit area in car number 24.
Schechter right in the middle of that battle.
Schechter in the middle of it, yes.
Came back out onto the racetrack. He's 2 laps down now, so that's really pretty much put him out of the hunt. He can gain back 1 lap, but gain back 2 is going to be pretty difficult to do.
Now, there'd have to be an unusual situation on the racetrack with green flag pit stops and then yellows and whatever to get him back 2 laps.
Yeah, and, you know, he's been as fast as anybody, but he's not fast enough to gain 2 laps back on the racetrack. Look at him down there as he goes underneath A.J. Foyt, and he's going to go after these guys. He hasn't given up yet, believe me.
Well, if he could get 1 lap back on the racetrack, whoa, what was the problem there? It was A.J. Foyt that got very high. If he could get 1 lap back on the racetrack, it's then conceivable he could get another lap back through pit stops.
Well, he very well could be. I mean, he's not out of it, but it certainly makes it a lot more difficult.
It's not good for him, but makes a fun race for us to watch.
Yeah, Brian Herta, he's now getting around Scott Sharp, so he's gaining a little momentum here in the battle.
Sixth position.
Yeah, 6th and 7th.
He'll set sail for Yasukawa. This could be the first best finish for Yasukawa this season.
You saw Scott Sharp once again reach down and change gears, so he's every time he gets a little bit high on the racetrack, loses a little momentum, he shifts gear.
Here comes Roger Yasukawa under the green. He will lose a lap in the pit area, but then if the green remains out, all these drivers will pit under the green.
Well, and DeFerrin and Sharp, those guys, and Yasukawa, all those guys who stayed out on that last pit stop, they're now reaching the point where they might have to make a pit stop. They've run over 60 laps. DeFerrin's run 66 laps, so it won't be much longer before he's going to have to make a pit stop.
He is going to have to come in, because that's way past his pit window.
Yeah, we were being told they were getting about 2.25 miles per gallon, which would be 60 laps. Obviously, they're getting better than that because they've already run 67 laps.
Well, the Penske crew is getting ready for DeFerrin, and that would turn the lead back to Dixon.
There he comes. He's heading for the pits.
So DeFerrin has led from lap 80. He leads on lap 128, and he heads for the pit area. So Scott Dixon will assume the lead on lap 129 to become our fourth lead change. Our three different leaders. Schechter was given credit for leading one lap. Dixon led the first 78.
Well, this is where we'll see if the captain's strategy is good or bad. Gets in and out. Probably going to lose a lap, but as we said, as long as everybody's got to pit under the green, it may not be bad.
The problem is, if he makes his pit stop and then the yellow comes out, and then all your other leaders get to pit under the yellow, he's going to lose.
And here comes Scott Sharp.
Yeah, yes. Scott Sharp.
Because he was also one of those cars that stayed out under that last pit stop.
Changing the nose piece and the front wing on the number 14 car of Foyt. Scott Sharp brings his car to the attention of the Tom Kelly team. Takes a tear off from the visor. Waits for the signal. There's the signal. He's underway.
You can see that it takes a couple seconds longer to put in the fuel than it does to change
Larry. Number 3, Castroneves slowing down this front straightaway.
Oh, wow. That's
very, very unusual for some mechanical problem on the Penske car. And there's a look at the captain. The 1,000 start for the Penske crew, and now we're hearing that it could be a gearbox problem.
Well, we've already seen Mura have a gearbox problem. So that's
now he's getting back up to speed.
Well, maybe he lost just his top gear and he got down into a gear that he could get a hold of. You just don't know. But or
he can race, but then he won't be able to make a pit stop and get back out very well.
Yeah, you don't know. When the gearboxes go out, usually it doesn't take too long before it gets a lot worse, because there's usually pieces around in there rumbling around. And
once you lose a gear or two, you're going to end up losing more.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way.
Well, he's headed back. Oh, this is Dixon headed back to the pit area. So we'll have a lead change as your leader will head for the pit area.
Something is wrong with the right rear. It looks like they're beating on the brake rotor, like it's not letting the tire go in and seat. But the tire just won't go on far enough.
Well, a costly, lengthy pit stop.
They're going to take it back off. Whatever the problem is, something's wrong with the hub of the car. It will not go on. Either something is swollen or something is shrunk, and won't let that tire go completely on. Here comes Castroneves.
And that puts Kenny Breck in the lead. Only called his name, I think, once today. Former winner of the Indy 500. Former IRL champion, driving at the time for A.J. Foyt. He becomes the 6th different leader of the afternoon.
Castroneves did not lose a lap. When he had that gearbox problem pulled down on the inside of the track, he did not lose a lap. He got about 25 seconds behind the leaders, but he stayed on the lead lap.
And now your leader comes in, and that puts DeFerrin back in the lead.
Kenny Breck, I think, is probably a little disappointed with his season so far. He has not run nearly as good as a lot of people thought. With Team Rahal, they thought he would be one of the guys up there battling for the lead almost every race. But so far, he's been battling back there about 6th or 7th instead of up there in the first 2. Very good pit stop that time, though, and he got out very well, but still he's going to come out back around probably 7th, 8th, 9th place.
Well, it would only seem appropriate that the captain could win a race in his 1,000th start in open wheel competition. Joe DeFerrin has 2 chances. Joe DeFerrin now leads the thing. Scott Dixon rides in 2nd. KANAAN is 3rd. Herta with a good ride for the Andretti Green team is in 4th. Sharp, Schechter. Are we showing Schechter back on the lead lap?
No, I don't think so.
Let's check timing and scoring monitor. That can't be right.
Yeah, you can see that Al Jr. still sitting there, still not able to get going, as he's got all, whatever's wrong with that right rear. He's still sitting in the pits, and that's pretty much going to take him out of contention. The other problem is Gilles DeFerrin definitely is going to have to make another pit stop. I don't think he can go to the end. Well, I shouldn't say definitely, but
with 55 laps to go, and that would make 55, 65,
that'd make over 70 laps.
70 laps. I don't think he can do it.
That's very difficult to do. So it is the hub that they're having problems.
We are showing Schechter on the lead lap, 17 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, he might be.
Well, that's what timing and scoring is showing.
Just due to the fact that he's passed some guys, and the pit stops have fallen in the right way for him. But he still has, he definitely will too have to make another pit stop. So he's already run 27 laps, so he's one of the guys that absolutely cannot make it again. And maybe that's the reason he's back on the pit stop. He's off pit stop sequence with everybody else.
Well, there's the laps led with Dixon has 82, DeFerrin now with 56, KANAAN, Schechter, Castroneves each had 1. Out of the race is Takagi, Mira, Weldon, and Giafoni. As we told you earlier, if you've just joined us, Giafoni was flown to the Kansas University Medical Center complaining of pain in the right leg, and we heard from his team owner Mo Nunn that there could be a broken right leg in that crash that he occurred with Dan Weldon. So right now 148 laps are in the book with Gilles DeFerrin leading Scott Dixon and Tony KANAAN.
Tag Heuer, what are you made of?
Whatever the problem is, it's not routine as they're starting to take off the side pod.
His afternoon as far as being competitive is over.
Well, what a tough break.
Cowling is off, and
that was a tough break for him. He's run very, very well here this afternoon, given the fact that he's under horsepowered by who knows how many. I've heard every place from 30 to 50. So without that horsepower, he's running in the top 10 on the lead lap was a pretty phenomenal job.
Gilles DeFerrin continues to lead, but his lead continues to dwindle. It had been 2.5 seconds. Now it's down to just a second. Might make that 2 seconds. It had been 2.5. Now it's 2 seconds over Dixon. So Dixon right now running laps faster than is the leader.
Yeah, Dixon has been the fastest car on the racetrack for the last few laps, and he is gaining on DeFerrin. KANAAN and Herta running just about the same speed as our leader, back there in 3rd and 4th spot. And Scott Sharp also running about that same speed.
Right now we're showing 5 drivers on the lead lap. Scott Sharp, the last driver on the lead lap. Then Yasukawa is 6th. It's showing Castroneves a lap down in 7th. Then Breck, then Ray. Schechter being shown.
Look at this, though. Dixon is caught between the 2 Reinbold cars who are running side by side, and it's costing him a lot of time on the racetrack. He has to get out of the throttle. He got out of the throttle on the main straightaway, and again entering the corner as those 2 cars run side by side.
Yeah, they're a lap off the pace. Joe and Fisher right together. In fact, they are 3 laps now off the pace, running in 12th and 13th. So they're actually racing for position. This is not what Dixon wants to see.
As cool and calm as he normally is.
You think he's getting heated right now?
I think he is on the radio saying, go talk to those 2 idiot spotters and tell them to get out of my way, because look right behind him.
Race control is now telling those drivers to get out of the way and let Dixon get by you.
Well, I don't blame him. When you're that far down, You've got guys who are contesting for the lead.
Oh, man, he is not happy at all. Now that lead has gone up to almost 4 seconds because he's trapped behind these two. They're racing 3 laps off the pace, right in front of the second place car.
And Castor Nevis is right behind him trying to get his lap back.
And now they break step to give them some room to go on by.
Man, oh man, I'm sure he is not happy at all right now.
Hold your breath as they're trying to get by. Which car was that? That was the.
I think that was Sarah
Fisher's
on the
in front
inside.
of Buell.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a hold your breath proposition there. 162 laps now complete. It's the Farron, Dixon, KANAAN, Herta, and Sharp on the lead lap. Well, KANAAN came into this race some 27 points ahead of Dixon. Dixon right now is riding in front of KANAAN, so he would pick up a few points. Plus, he'd had the 2 bonus points for leading the most laps. He's had the most bonus points so far this season because of, as we say, there are 2 bonus points for leading the most laps. You're right along with the trim spot number 13 of Greg Ray. Ray having a good ride back in 9th position. He is 2 laps off the pace. We started to say before Dixon caught the Dreyer Reinbold team, he was only 2 seconds behind the leader. Now he finds himself almost 4.5 seconds behind the leader. Al Unser Jr. back on the racetrack after that lengthy pit stop. He is some 22 laps back.
Yeah, 22 laps.
17th position.
That's a tough break for him. 22 laps because of that bad right rear hub problem, but back running pretty good lap times, but just way too far out.
Sam Hornish is also, well, he was back out, but now it looks like he's headed back to the pit area.
Yeah, he went out. Evidently, whatever their problem is, they didn't get it fixed, so he's going to head back in, get it fixed. No sense staying out there if you're just in the way.
Scott Sharp, who was 5th, well, he's staying out there. Look at that, Larry. He didn't pull in. Scott Sharp, who was 5th, the 5th and last driver on the lead lap, is now making his final pit stop. He'd gone only 36 laps.
Yeah, it looks like he's coming in awfully slow. Yeah, this is not, doesn't appear to be routine because he's coming in awfully slow.
Scott Sharp had a good ride going. Now only 4 drivers are on the lead lap, and he is in no big hurry to get there, so this is not routine.
You can see him, you know, when you make a fist like that and you throw your hands up in the air, definitely is a problem.
Just trying to read the body language, and it's not good. They didn't have any tires out for him. They weren't expecting him in. The cowling comes loose, so Hornish is back in the pit area and apparently will be dropping out of this race. So Dixon now 4 seconds behind Jill DeFerrin. Tony KANAAN rides in 3rd, back in about 10 seconds back of the leader. Then Herta is 4th. Those 4 are the only 4 drivers on the lead lap. With some 32 laps to go, we enjoy our live coverage from Kansas. And Larry, we have become accustomed to seeing these races in with less than a second between 1st and 2nd, sometimes far less than that. But right now, DeFerrin enjoying just under a 4-second lead over Dixon. But Dixon has cut into it. At one time, he was 2 seconds back. He caught those Dreyer Reinbold cars and lost about 2.5 seconds in trying to get by him.
And you can see Scott Sharp is who was running 5th out of the race. Appears to be a gearbox problem. This is about the 3rd or 4th gearbox. It's the 3rd one I remember for sure, and I think maybe there was another one I can't place right now, but at least 3 people have had gearbox problems that have put them out of the race. We talked about the engines overheating and being a big problem. It appears that the gearboxes are the part of the car that's not taking the heat very well.
One of the few racetracks where they're actually using the gearbox to shift other than making pit stops. Right now the fastest driver on the track is Scott Dixon. Scott Sharp is out of his car. Sam Hornish is out of his car, and we hope to hear from both Scott and Sam as their race ends prematurely here in the heat of the Kansas afternoon.
2 guys that were having a couple of very good runs here today is both of those guys, Hornish especially doing a terrific job staying on the lead lap with that Chevrolet, and of course Scott Sharp running in the top 5.
Greg Ray runs back in the 8th position now, but he is 2 laps off the pace.
From the Kansas City Chiefs, it's good to see that Coach Dick Vermeil hasn't worked it too hard in the offseason.
No, it's a lot of fun being out here, though. Coach Vermeil, we're really looking forward to this season, excited about what lies ahead, but it's a lot of fun being out here today and experience racing.
Now, you've been working with the Scott Sharp team, who, by the way, guys, a gearbox has knocked Scott Sharp out of the race, but your impressions of IndyCar racing?
Oh, it's very impressive. It's unfortunate it had to end the way that it did with Scott finishing up, but it's very exciting being down here in the pits. This is my first opportunity being down in the pits. The adrenaline really gets going.
Hey, Gary, he plays for a guy whose daddy was a sprint car ace, built a lot of cars on the West Coast.
Well, that was Trent Green, who's the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs out of Indiana University. And look at this. This cannot be routine, Larry.
We know is that we had a major miss, and we think it's somewhere in the wiring harness, but we changed all the electronics and just couldn't get it to go over 150. So tough luck. We'll come back and go to Nashville, see what we can do.
Thank you, Sam. Boy, what a great.
Comments from Sam Hornish, but this Larry cannot be routine, although it looks routine.
It appears to be routine. There was tires and fuel only, and they didn't fill it up. As soon as they had the tires on, they dropped him and let him go because they've only got 25 laps to go. They didn't think they could make it to the end of the race, so they opted to come in early, make their pit stop, get back out there, and then if there's a yellow and everybody else pits, he will be in the lead. So that was a strategic decision by Chip Ganassi's team in case there is a yellow.
Well, with that pit stop, that moves KANAAN to second. Herta with his by far best ride for the Andretti Green team.
And it's all going to depend on whether these guys can make it to the end. I'm not sure. I'm sure that DeFerrin cannot make a pit, or will have to make a pit stop. KANAAN and Herta may not make a pit stop, and that may be what ends up winning the race for them. It's a lot of strategy being played out. This is not so much the driver's nerves as this is some of the pit crew's nerves here today, as some very strategic decisions are being made.
Well, KANAAN has gone 40. You make that DeFerrin has gone 48 laps since his last pit stop. We're on lap 179 right now. So he would have to go right at 70 laps to make it to the finish without a yellow. KANAAN has gone 39 laps since his last pit stop, as has Herta.
They can make it. I believe they can make it. They'll have to run about 60 laps is all, a little over 60 laps, and we've seen guys run 60 laps, so they probably will make it to the end. The big question is, can Dixon catch them after that very quick pit stop? I'm not sure. Maybe he had a tire going down is the reason he came in. I'm not sure.
Dixon is now a lap off the pace, back in 6th position. There are only 3 drivers on the lead lap. Kastronevich is a lap down in 4th, and Yasukawa a lap down in 5th, and it's Dixon in 6th. Breck is 7th. 8th is Ray, 9th is Schechter, but Ray and Schechter are both 2 laps off the pace.
Boy, this is going to be interesting. It'd be interesting to find out what happened and why Scott Dixon made that pit stop, because theoretically he should have been able to run the rest of the race because he pitted at the same time KANAAN and Herta did, which would give him about 60 laps. But the last time he made an early pit stop too, if you remember.
Well, now 20 laps remain for Gilles DeFerrin. Live coverage, the 8th race of a 16-race schedule. We've reached the halfway point, and Team Penske celebrating their 1,000th start in IndyCar racing. We want to hear from Michael Andretti. His driver runs in 2nd position, and he has a driver running in 3rd. So he has 2 of the top 3 positions right now.
Well, if DeFerrin has to pit, they are in a very good position to run 1-2 in this race. They've run obviously a very strategic race, well planned out, although they haven't run quite as fast as DeFerrin has.
182 laps now complete. The lead is now 7.5 seconds over Tony KANAAN. Herta is some 11 seconds, almost 12 seconds behind the leader. So a rare finish where we wouldn't have drivers within a second of each other.
There is Brian Herta.
It's going to be really close. He needs to really work hard at it, but there's no yellows, and he can make it. I think it's a race, so we'll see.
You've been in these situations before. How hard is it to conserve fuel on this type of track?
It's always hard, you know. It's hate to see cars in front of you go by. I mean, pull away from you and cars pass you. But he's got almost a full lap over the next guy, so
you know, hopefully he'll be able to bring it. We'll see.
Well, we're hearing the leader is coming in, and that would give Tony Kanaan the lead.
It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, he's gonna
getting ready for the Farron's pit stop. He's gone 55 laps.
That's Castroneves you're watching right there, and Dixon is just going around him. The Farron's going to get a splash and go. He might not even take fuel. Let's see what kind of plan. They might not even take tires in. Let's see what kind of plan they've got.
It'll be what they call a time stop, where they just dump some fuel in enough to get him to the finish. They're going to change tires. They are changing tires. They're changing all 4.
As soon as they get the tires changed, though, they'll let him go. They only took a little bit of fuel, 7.2 seconds. That's pretty quick, but it's going to be close. He's not going to have the lead, but it'll be interesting to see if he comes out in front of Castroneves and Dixon.
De Farron makes his pit stop on lap 185. Kanaan leads this thing with a 6-second advantage over Herta.
Kanaan, his speed has dropped somewhat over the last couple laps. He's running 212, 211 miles an hour. He's running 213, 214. De Farron may have taken those tires simply because you can run 215, 216 once you get a new set of tires. Look at this. He's now getting back up to speed, but Kanaan's trying to get around him.
Well, Kanaan's victory came at Pikes, or make that at Phoenix, the only Honda win of the year. The rest have been Toyota-powered entries.
So De Farron did go 1 lap down.
Castroneves is now 3rd, but he's almost a lap down, some 24 seconds behind the leader. Kanaan, driving for the Andretti Green team, leads the point standings and also has that 1 victory at Phoenix this year. He's been very, very consistent throughout the year.
Herta has fallen back quite a ways as they got into traffic. He was right behind Kanaan a little earlier. He's 6 seconds back now, so he's a long way back. Castroneves has gotten around Kanaan. He is back on the lead lap. So Castroneves running some of the fastest laps out there right now. Herta is down. He's running only 207 miles an hour. So either he's got a problem or something, because he's really dropped about 5 or 6 miles off the pace.
Schechter is back in the pits in car number 10. Schechter making a late race pit stop. Well, Kanaan's only finish out of the top 5 is the only finish out of the top 5 was a 14th at Texas for Kanaan. So that consistency, coupled with his win at Phoenix, has put him on top of the point standings.
And we're being told that Herta does not have a problem. He's just slowed down to conserve fuel. He wants to make sure he can make it to the end. So while Kanaan stays out there heavy on the throttle, running 212, 214, Herta has decided to pull it back. He's only running 207 miles an hour so that he can conserve fuel and make sure he makes it to the end.
Herta right now in 2nd position with some 9 laps to go with a sizable lead over Castroneves, who is in 3rd. De Farron is now a lap off the pace in 4th, and Dixon, Breck, Ray. Ray is also a lap off the pace, then Yasukawa 2 laps off the pace. Now Castroneves has gone a lap down.
Yeah, there goes Kanaan right now, going by Castroneves. So Kanaan still very, very quick. He's got 8 laps to go. He's going to run 61 laps on this tank of fuel. So Tony Kanaan looking extremely strong right now, as long as he doesn't have a fuel problem.
Well, now we're hearing, interestingly enough, that Kanaan and Herta may have to stop. They've gone 64 laps. There are 7 laps to go. And look at this. Here comes Kanaan.
Wow, Herta is the leader. So that's the reason Herta slowed down to 209 miles an hour.
Yeah, but he pitted on the same lap that Kanaan did earlier. I don't think he can make it.
Well, he's going to try, though. This is the team strategy for Team Green again. They're going to bring Kanaan in because he has to get as many points. He's the point leader. They're going to try to stretch Herta. That's the reason they slowed him down.
They'll go for the victory.
They're going to go for the victory. They decided to slow him way down and let him go for the victory. And so that's why about 8 or 9 laps ago, he slowed down.
But keep in mind that if Herta has to stop, guess what? In his 1,000th start, Penske could finish 1 and 2.
Yep.
Castroneves right now is riding in what, third to Farron fourth.
They're running right together on the racetrack, third and fourth.
Well, KANAAN came in, though, so that's all going to change. Herta is drafting everybody he can out there to conserve fuel. He's still running around 207 miles an hour, and he is trying to draft on anybody that he can find out in front of him.
Right, he's got 5 laps to go, 12-second lead on Castroneves. So he is doing everything possible to try to conserve fuel, but yet run fast enough to stay ahead of those guys. He's running 208 miles an hour. Castroneves at 213. Well,
4 laps to go.
Yeah, 4 laps to go. It looks like he might pull off this victory just on the fuel conservation mode. KANAAN probably could have done it, but they could not afford. With the point championship at stake, they could not afford to leave him out there and take the chance.
Well, Herta can run out of fuel. He can chance the win to run out of fuel, but as you say, they cannot do that with KANAAN because he needs the points for the championship.
Right. And KANAAN did get out of the pits in front of Dixon, so those 5 cars on the lead lap, but Dixon running 1 position behind Tony KANAAN right now.
Well, so if Herta cannot make it on fuel, Castroneves would assume the lead.
So he is going to make it to the end. If he makes it to the end, he's definitely going to win. These guys are not gaining on him nearly quickly enough.
Oh, look at this. He backed way out of it that time.
Well, he's still on the conserve.
Well, there's still 10 seconds between first and second with 2 laps to go.
This would be a huge win for Brian Herta.
Well, we'll be looking for the white flag, driving for the injured Dario Franchitti. There's the white flag for Brian Howard. 1 lap to go. Dario Franchitti, we talked about breaking his back on that motorcycle accident as he was home visiting Weldy's on his way to Japan. Came back for 1 race after losing 3 and said he's going to have an operation and his season is over. Look at 209 miles an hour, 203 miles an hour. It's going to be real close.
That's right. He can coast home now. He's got her made.
So Brian Herta going to bring it home, and there's the checkered flag for Brian Herta. Brings it home for the Andretti Green team, and there's Michael.
They are got to be extremely happy because that was a strategy. They worked on it just like Penske has done many times. 2 different strategies with 2 different drivers. This time it worked for Brian Herta, and a young man who didn't have a ride a month ago comes home with victory. So he's got to be extremely happy.
We'll hear from Michael Andrew.
Leader, I wouldn't look.
What do you think about it now?
Okay, so congratulations to Brian Herta. A good win for him very quickly. Paul, did they get the strategy right?
Yeah, because they balanced it out between all their entries, so I think they got a winner.
And as far as Tony Kanaan's concerned, I suppose it was important that he got a high finish, and therefore that was the reason for his strategy.
He was championship leader. There's no way he could run out of petrol towards the end, so they played it safe.
Okay, so that's it from the Kansas Speedway from Kansas City. Congratulations to Brian Herta. My thanks to Christian Kolby and Paul Cherry for their expert observations. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for round 9 of the Indy Racing League. That's the Firestone Indy 200 from Nashville Super Speedway, Nashville, Tennessee. It's back to racing under floodlights, and we'll be here to bring you all the excitement from 1 a.m. Sunday, 20th July. That's Sky Sports 1. In the meantime, thanks for watching. We'll leave you now with some of the best of tonight's action. Till next time, goodbye.